Hello, welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Tuesday, July 23rd. The New York Jets reported to training camp, and we've got a lot of news surrounding edge rusher Haason Reddick as his training camp holdout officially began today. He did not report to training camp, and now the wait is on for a new contract agreement to be reached between the two sides. We will break it all down in today's episode. This is episode 330 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. I thank you, as always, for joining me today on the program. First practice tomorrow, first report day. Report day was today, and we've already got a lot of news. There is truly never a dull moment for the New York Jets when it comes to news and headlines and all that stuff. There is always something going on with this team to talk about, and that was the case. While not surprising that we are seeing Haason Reddick hold out, it is still a story. It is still something to watch for, and is still something to see how it develops here the rest of camp. So we'll break that down in today's episode. Before we do so, let me tell you about our podcast partners over at SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an app that gathers tickets from all over the internet and puts them into one place to make it easier for you, the buyer. What makes SeatGeek so great is they rate each ticket on a scale of 0 to 10, so you know if you are getting a good deal or not. Green means good, yellow means okay, red means stay away. And plus, my viewers use promo code BUBSONSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. And you can go in the description down below, click the link in the description. That'll take you to download the SeatGeek app. And at checkout, use promo code BUBSONSPORTS for $20 off your purchase. And get yourself out to some events, not just football, not just sports, anything, plays, concerts, shows. If you can buy a ticket for an event, SeatGeek has you covered. Use promo code BUBSONSPORTS for $20 off your purchase. Also, Huga House. You see the hat I'm wearing right now, or any of the hats that Aaron Rodgers wears? Aaron Rodgers arriving today at One Jets Drive had his Egypt shirt on, which was trolling the media a little bit there, but he was also rocking his Huga House hat as well. If you want to rock what Shane Gillis is rocking, or even Tyler Conklin, many other Jets, many other athletes, many other celebrities, click the link in the description down below. That'll take you to the Huga House store. Get yourself some Huga House swag, and at checkout, use promo code BUBS for 15% off any purchase. All right, now let's get into today's program because we've got a lot to dissect from a New York Jets and Haason Reddick contract dispute that is going on right now and has been going on dating back to OTAs and mandatory minicamp, where Haason Reddick did not show up for either of those offseason programs. Now, this shouldn't come by much of a surprise. Again, just to give you some of the background information on this situation, it's been 4 months now since the Jets and Reddick, the Jets and the Eagles agreed to a trade to send Haason Reddick to the Big Apple. Reddick is entering the final year of his 3-year deal, $45 million contract, and is due to make a non-guaranteed $14.25 million in base pay this season, plus another $500,000 in incentives. So he is playing on a deal right now that does not give him any guaranteed money, which basically means if in an event Haason Reddick went out there in practice and got hurt, and knock on wood, that never happens, but in the event that happened under his current contract, the New York Jets could cut him, and he would get with no non-guaranteed money. He wouldn't make a penny. So you can understand why Haason Reddick is holding out. And again, this shouldn't come by much of a surprise to New York Jets fans, because this is a player that held out during all of OTAs, held out during minicamp. Training camp wasn't going to be any different unless if a deal was done before camp started. Now, Reddick will be fined $50,000 every day he misses. And with the new collective bargaining agreement, the new CBA, he can't make that money back. In prior years, if a player was missing camp due to a contract dispute, he would get fined $50,000 every single day that he misses, every practice he misses, but he could make that money back when the deal was done. In this case, the new CBA, they can't make that money back. So even when Reddick signs a deal, if he signs a deal with the Jets, and I expect that to happen soon, when that happens, he can't make any of this money back. So it's hurting Reddick a lot to get fined $50K every single day. It might not seem like much for these guys, but to put it in kind of perspective, if he misses the entire training camp, he would pay a total of about $2 million in fines, which is a lot of money, So he is eventually going to get to camp, whether he has a deal or not. How much does he kind of do what Jordan Love is doing, where he comes to camp and does a sit-in where he doesn't practice, but he's there to negotiate, and he technically wouldn't be getting fined for it. Maybe we'll see if he maybe does that. But for every day he's not there, every day that he's not at the facility present, he's getting fined $50K. So it's a very interesting situation. Now, you've heard kind of a variety of reports over the last couple months, and I will say this. I'm not panicking. I'm not worried. I will get worried about this situation. I will start to, not full-blown panic, but you start to get worried with this situation, I would say, if we get to August 1st and there is still no deal, right? So give it another week or so. And if there still is no deal, then you start to get worried. Because then that's about, 5 practices he's already missed. You start to worry it's a week into camp, he's still not showing up. Then you get worried. I think you're in full-blown panic mode if you get to a week into August 10th, August 12th, let's say, and he still hasn't shown up. Then that's when I think you get into full-blown panic mode, because then you start to wonder, okay, what shape is he in? You start to question, okay, he's still got to learn the playbook. He's still got to build chemistry with the guys up front. Then you really start to wonder, like, his eligibility for week 1, if he will even be ready and up to football speed in week 1 if he misses 2 weeks in August. Then you start to really get concerned. So I think worried is like August 1st. You start to full-blown panic if you get through like the first week of the preseason. You get through like those Washington joint practices. It's like August 12th, August 15th, and he's still not there, and you're halfway through August. That's when you're full on panic mode, because then you really start to have questions about what his role and how much he can actually contribute this season if he misses all this time. So that's kind of my timeline. I'm still not worrying yet. I still think something will get done, but that's kind of the way I'm going about it. Now, there was a big report earlier this afternoon from Connor Hughes about the entire situation, and we'll throw it up on the screen here for the YouTube audience, and we'll read it off. So sources, the Jets made Haason Reddick a contract offer before the trade from Philadelphia. It would have been a raise from the $14.5 million he's scheduled to make this year. Reddick declined the offer. The Jets said if he wanted more, $25 to $28 million annually, they would need to see him perform first. Now, that $25 to $28 million is what Haason Reddick is seeking. He is looking to become one of the highest paid at the position, and rightfully so. This is a guy that has been one of the elite pass rushers in the NFL over the last 4 years, and we'll give you some numbers to back that up and what he means to this team and why getting this done soon means so much for the New York Jets. In the meantime, the Jets would adjust his current deal, convert non-guaranteed to guaranteed and incentives, which is, I think, what will end up happening is they'll convert some of this non-guaranteed into guaranteed, and then they'll kind of pump them up on incentives. And Amari Cooper actually just reached kind of a new deal, or kind of restructured his contract just about an hour or so ago. And we'll throw that up on the screen here too, to kind of show what the Jets could potentially do with Reddick, because it's two very similar situations in Cleveland and here in New York. But more on this report. Reddick told the Jets he was on board with this. He would show up for the offseason program, minicamp, and training camp. He'd perform well early season, leading in an in-season extension, similar to the one the Jets had with JFM in 2021, where he played well earlier in the year. Douglas rewarded him. Reddick then skipped OTAs, minicamp, and training camp. The Jets are not willing to negotiate anything until he shows up. The Jets don't know when he plans on coming back. He will be fined for his absences. So that's the latest report from Connor Hughes. Now, the majority of the reports that we have heard are from the New York Jets angle. It's they've already offered him a contract. Reddick supposedly signed off on it, or kind of had a handshake agreement that I would be there for OTAs, I would be there for minicamp, I would be there for training camp, I would perform well, teams playing well, you give me an extension week 3, week 4, and then, we move forward. But it seems like something along the line, and we still haven't quite heard from the Haason Reddick side of things, but it seems like something along the line here, Haason Reddick just kind of went away from that agreement of showing up to everything, getting his contract when the season started. And I think a lot has to do with it, with the JFM trade. New York dealt JFM to the Denver Broncos, which still has myself and many other Jets fans scratching their head about why they did that. Not so much because of Haason Reddick, but just because JFM was such a good player and a good piece up front. Why did they feel the need to deal him? I get the contract stuff, but either way, you find yourself in this contract situation anyway. But I think a lot of this has to do with that, where Haason Reddick saw JFM go, saw him get traded, and realized that his value just went up, and realized that without him, this Jets team takes a significant hit on defense because of the way they rotate their defensive line, rotate their edge rushers, losing JFM, a guy that can play on the inside and the outside at a high level. He, I think, realized my value just skyrocketed. And I'm not going to go ahead and go along with what the Jets told me prior to this. I mean more to this team now than I did when we originally got this deal done. And I want more money. I want to get paid as such. I want to get paid in the role that I'm going to play this year, which is a huge role for this New York Jets team. Playing alongside on the edge on the opposite end of Jermaine Johnson. And if Haason Reddick, hypothetically, let's say, does not play with the New York Jets this year, let's just say you take away Haason Reddick from this team. The point I'm trying to make here is, I think Reddick feeling that with JFM gone, his value increased. Reddick, you remove him from this team, you have so many questions at the edge rusher spot, because then it's Jermaine Johnson, and that's about it. And then you're hoping that Will McDonald takes a year or two leap. Then you would need Michael Clemens to come out of the middle of nowhere, and then you would need one of your UDFAs, a guy that's fighting for the roster spot, to become your fourth edge. You all of a sudden get very thin there if you take away Haason Reddick. I mean, let's be honest here. If any team took away an elite edge rusher, an elite pass rusher, they would take a serious hit, but especially in this case. So it's a really interesting situation. Again, this is the Jets angle, but I think a lot of it has to do with JFM being dealt. Some of it has to do with that. And I think that's where some of this seems to have changed. Reddick's stance on things have changed since that deal. Now, Reddick has wanted a deal for a couple years now. This has gone on in Philly for 2 years. If you remember last year, he missed minicamp in 2023. So this has gone on for a little while. This isn't something like Reddick was traded to the Jets. And that's what makes this situation so weird and odd and a little frustrating, because the Jets knew he would want a deal. That's the reason Philly dealt him, because Philly wasn't willing to give him a new contract. So the Jets seems like they knew, everybody knew that he wasn't just going to come to the Jets and all of a sudden say, oh, I don't want a new deal. I'm happy here. I'm fine with playing with no guaranteed money. No, he was coming to the Jets in hopes that, they would give me a new deal because Philly's not going to. So this isn't something that just popped up, but it seems like it's been kind of inflamed a little bit here over the last couple months, where Reddick realizes his importance to this team and really wants that new deal and wants to get paid as one of the elite pass rusher money. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's a very odd situation. You don't see this often when it comes to a trade and then a player holding out right after he was traded. It's similar to the Giants. Like the Giants, for example, they traded for Brian Burns this offseason. And before the deal was even finished, they already had a contract extension in place for Brian Burns. So you feel like the Jets, that is what should have happened in this situation. They should have traded for Haason Reddick and they should have signed him right away. They didn't do that. It is what it is. But this is a very rare situation where you trade for a player, any position, and then they hold out. Holdouts aren't rare. It's rare if you trade for a player 4 months ago. You trade for a guy in April, and then he's holding out that July for a contract. That's rare because it's like, why then did you trade for him in the first place? Obviously, there's some sort of miscommunication. Giants just had the same thing happen, but it worked out fine, right? They traded for Brian Burns, edge rusher. They extended him right away. Before the deal even went down, they already negotiated an extension right away. So this is definitely an outlier in this type of situation. The thing I would say this, and if this is, I guess, kind of a positive viewpoint on this, right? The Jets need Reddick, and Reddick needs the Jets, if that makes sense. And let me explain. From the Jets' perspective, if the Jets want to win a Super Bowl, if the New York Jets want to win the division, win 11, 12 games this year, make the playoffs, go deep into the postseason, they need Haason Reddick. This team, this defense needs Haason Reddick. Without Reddick, you're looking at so many questions at that edge spot. So many questions. Because then, hypothetically, you're looking at a situation where you lost Bryce Huff, you lost JFM, you don't have Reddick. So, essentially, you did nothing. You just only got worse at the edge spot this year. Right? That's it. So, they need Haason Reddick. They need a legitimate game breaker late in games that can get to the quarterback. Haason Reddick has had 50.5 sacks in the last 4 seasons. That's 4th in the NFL. He's right up there with names like TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, and Trey Hendrickson. And another thing to mention about Haason Reddick, he's missed 1 game his entire career in 2021. He's played 114 of a possible 115 games in his career dating back to his first year in 2017. This guy's durable. He's dominant. He forces fumbles. He's all over the quarterback. He's an elite pass rusher. He does everything. He's elite. The Jets need him. And the same goes for Haason Reddick. Haason Reddick needs the Jets because Haason Reddick, looking for a new contract, final year of his deal, he wants to boost his value. If they can find a way to agree kind of on a come to the middle on a deal, right? Maybe not get highest paid money, but come to a middle on a deal like a Band-Aid contract that'll cover up this season, and then you cross that bridge in the offseason when you get there. Let's say Reddick plays this year, plays well, puts up 13 sacks. Jets go deep in the playoffs. He has a great year, all pro. Then he gets a huge contract elsewhere in 2025. That's what potentially could happen. And that's why he needs the Jets. Reddick cannot afford, and that's why this is going to work itself out, because Haason Reddick cannot afford to sit out this year. That'll only tank his value. If he sits out this season and then goes into free agency coming off a year where he did not play, he's not even going to sniff top edge rusher money. Not even going to sniff it. So the Jets need Reddick if they want to go deep, and Reddick needs the Jets if he wants to put up his boost up his value as he enters his 29 age 30 season, which will be 30 in September. He needs the Jets because he needs to boost his value. If it's a Band-Aid contract, he has a huge year. He's going to get paid monster numbers in 2025. And that's why both sides will get something done. I truly believe that. Both sides will get something done. Because both sides need each other in a way when you look at that. Reddick needs to have a huge year to set up a big contract. Because the Jets aren't going to pay Haason Reddick a huge 4-year deal. They just don't have they don't have the cap space to do so. Because then guess what? They're going to have to pay Sauce Gardner next offseason. They're going to have to eventually pay Garrett Wilson. They got to have to make a decision on Michael Carter and DJ Reed. They've got enough stuff that they already have on their plate for 2025. They're not going to give Haason Reddick, a guy that's going to be 30, a massive deal. They're just not going to do it, especially if Will McDonald breaks out this year. This was more of a 1-2 year all-in move. This isn't a move for the future. So Reddick, Band-Aid contract, boost his value for next year. Jets get Reddick for this year, make a strong run to the Super Bowl. That's why this will happen, and I strongly believe it still will. I don't think this is going to he's going to sit out. He would be stupid to do that. And the Jets would be stupid to let it happen. Terrible look for both sides if that does. And it won't. And also, it's July 23rd. We're still a month and a half away from week 1. Like I said, August 1st, you start to worry. You get into full-on panic mode. If it gets to like August 10th, August 12th, and he's still not there, then you start panicking. Because then that's about 3 weeks into camp and you haven't seen him. That's a problem. But we're not there yet. Before we close out, Amari Cooper earlier today, I'll throw it up on the screen for the YouTube audience as well. So the Browns wide receiver Amari Cooper is getting a $5 million raise in incentives per source. The Browns are also guaranteeing him $20 million currently left on his contract. Cooper will be entering the final year of his deal. So that's kind of that Band-Aid deal. They don't reach something long term, but Cooper will play under this deal, guarantee him the $20 million, get him $5 million raise in incentives, and he'll be able to go into the offseason and look for a bigger deal in 2025. That's something similar that the Jets can do to Haason Reddick. Give him a little bit more guaranteed money, give him incentives, boost up incentives, Band-Aid contract. You might not quite get him to that $25 million that he wants to hit, but you can maybe get him around that $20 million mark. Come in the, get to the middle, come to an agreement point in the middle, Band-Aid deal play out this year. I could see something like that. Hits 10 sacks, incentives, plays 15 plus games, incentives, plays a certain amount of the snaps, incentives, wins a playoff game, incentives, win the Super Bowl, incentives, something like that. I could see giving him more guaranteed, pumping it up on incentives, reaching around that 20 million mark. Both sides are happy for the year, and Reddick searches for a huge deal elsewhere in 2025 because I don't think it'll be with the Jets. And we'll see, in an all-in year in 2024. But this will get done. Not quite panic time yet. Once again, head on over, click the link in the description down below to download the mobile app, download the SeatGeek app. And at checkout, use promo code BubsOnSports for $20 off your purchase. Also, Huga House. You want the hat I'm wearing right now? Or the hat that Aaron Rodgers is wearing in this picture? Or hey, the hat he was wearing walking into training camp this morning? Then head on over to Huga House, click the link in the description down below, use promo code BUBS for 15% off your purchase, and get yourself some of the Huga House swag. They released 10 brand new hats about a week and a half ago, and they're going very, very fast. So if you want to get your hands on one of those hats or the hat I'm wearing or any other great vintage-inspired hats, head on over, promo code BUBS for 15% off. That'll do it. Player preview. Episode 2 will be up tomorrow morning, and then we will have our first training camp day 1 practice recap about tomorrow afternoon, shortly after practice ends, and then I will be in the building on Thursday for the first fan open practice, so I will be getting a first-hand view of the New York Jets in action. I will also be there on Saturday, and I will also be there on Tuesday of next week, so getting out to the first 3 practices. Can't wait. Love training camp. Love this time of year. And let's go Jets. Until next time, we'll see you back here tomorrow for some more training camp recaps and all that good stuff. The grind kind of starts. Pretty much daily content from here on out. So stay tuned. A lot more content coming your way. And as always, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. And until next time, JETS, 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 Jets.